Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomena, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
This is A Different Perspective with Kevin Randle. A retired U.S. Lieutenant Colonel, Kevin Randle has been studying UFOs for nearly 50 years. Kevin has investigated some of the most famous UFO cases in the world and has been consulted for dozens of documentaries about UFOs. Considered one of the leading experts into the Roswell UFO crash of 1947, Kevin has written more than 25 books about UFOs, including the recently published Roswell in the 21st Century. Now, here is the host of A Different Perspective, Kevin Randle.
And welcome to the latest edition of A Different Perspective. I am Kevin Randle, and I am going to be joined momentarily by Tom Carey, he of, Roswell fame. I just wanted to let you all know that I am truly back from Roswell. We had a great time there, had some wonderful interviews, and you'll be hearing those or have heard those in the last few days. I guess there's one more coming after that. And in the upcoming weeks, we'll be having some other interesting guests showing up. I mean, really interesting people that I was able to contact while in Roswell and some that I've known for quite a while. Thomas J. Carey is a native Philadelphian, and I'm not going to hold that against him. Holds degrees from Temple University, a B.S. in Business Administration, which kind of surprised me given what I knew about him, and California State University, Sacramento, an M.A. in Anthropology, and also attended the University of Toronto's Ph.D. program in Anthropology. He is what we called all but dissertation, ADB. ADB? He's an Air Force veteran who held a top-secret crypto clearance. Tom is now a retired Philadelphia area businessman. He has been in the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, or is a MUFON state section director for Southeastern Pennsylvania, or was. I can't even read my own notes here. From 1986 to 2001, a special investigator for the J. Allen Hynek Center for UFO Studies from 1991 to 2001, and a member of the CUFOS Board of Directors from 1997 to 2001. Tom began investigating aspects of the Roswell Incident in 1991 for Roswell investigation team of Kevin Randle, that would be me, and Don Schmitt, and since 1998 has teamed exclusively with Don Schmitt to continue a proactive investigation of the case. Tom has authored or co-authored more than 40 published articles in Roswell about the Roswell events in 1947 and has contributed to a number of books on the subject as well. He has appeared as a guest on many radio and TV shows throughout the country, including Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell, George Norrie, Fox and Friends, Comcast Network Friends, and Larry King Live, and has contributed to a number of Roswell-related documentaries on scene and behind the scenes. Tom, periods work really well sometimes. Just thought I'd mention that. Tom was a consultant and interviewee on the highly acclaimed and rated 2002 two-hour Sci-Fi Channel documentary, The Roswell Crash, Startling New Evidence, the History Channel's Conspiracy Theory, the Travel Channel's Weird Travels Roswell, the Sci-Fi Channel's Sci-Fi Investigates, and the History Channel's UFO Hunters. Tom, I've made it through it. Didn't stumble out much. Welcome to A Different Perspective.
Nice to be with you, Kevin.
Oh, well, it's nice to chat with you that we had our on and off times here, and it's nice to be back on the good side.
Well, here we are.
Yes. And as one of the founding members of the Ken Tobey fan club, for people who don't know, Ken Tobey starred in the original Good the Thing and a number of other programs, and Tom and I would share Kenneth Tobey sightings for a while there, which was kind of fun.
He still turns up every now and then.
He was in an awful lot of movies and a lot of different roles.
A lot, yes.
The 800-pound gorilla in the room, of course, are the Roswell slides. Big slide fiasco, I guess you would call it. How exactly did you learn about those slides?
Well, I had to refresh my memory because you can imagine I tried to put it out of my mind. But it was 2012. I received an email from a fellow named Joseph Beeson. And unsolicited, of course. And he articulated in his memo, his email, that he had something very interesting to share with us, but in order to do that, we had to sign non-disclosure agreements, and that just heightened our interest. And I'm thinking, my goodness, what has he got here? Whether we have to sign a non-disclosure. And so we signed a non-disclosure, and he had these two slides, and I sent you a copy of the one that quote unquote, did me in.
Well, let me interrupt here because I have a question. I think Adam Dew told me that he had originally contacted Stan Friedman, and Stan Friedman said, that's true that he did contact Stan Friedman?
That's what he told me. I asked Stan, and he said he didn't, but Stan this was last year, the last year that Stan attended the festival down in Roswell, and I asked him then, Adam Dew said he sent it to you first, and he said, oh, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. Well, at one time, Stan said he did. So, and last year I was having a sort of a disagreement with Stan that Major General, Lieutenant General was higher than Major General, and he didn't believe me. And so I said, oh, my goodness, what's going on here? And
well, you can kind of understand that. A lieutenant is outranked by a major, but, of course, we understand that Lieutenant General is 3 stars, Major General is 2, so.
Right. And he didn't, he wasn't putting me on either because we were starting to get very intense about it. And I'm thinking, my goodness, I know that Lieutenant General is higher than Major General, but he didn't believe it. But
that's what the Internet's for, by the way.
I'm sorry?
That's what the Internet is for. Google it.
Well, he lives in Canada, so maybe it's different up there. I don't know. I think they still have field marshals up there, but I'm not sure. I don't remember. But anyway, that was the story that Adam told to us, is that he did send it to Stan, and he was not interested. And Stan told Joseph. By this time, we never had aware that there was another fellow involved named Adam Dew. I always call him Adam Don't now, but we were dealing with Joseph Beeson for the first full year. We never knew there was another fellow behind the scenes there, and so he sent it to me, and so I contacted Don, and we said we got to sign a non-disclosure. I'm interested what this guy has because he sounds serious, and So we did, and he sent me these 2 slide images. The one I sent you this morning, you can see that the placard at the foot of this body is blanked out, and I had asked Joseph, well, how come that's blanked out? Where the second slide, it wasn't blanked out, and he says, oh well, they must have used a flash on that photo. And I said, well, okay, I guess so. And so we were sent 2 images, and that started the whole ball rolling. We did everything we could for 3 years to do due diligence on the origin of the slides, whether they had been altered or not, and things like that. And it took 3 years. And I also sent you images of the placards themselves. 3 years we could not break them. We could not. I know myself, off and on for 3 years. I'd wake up and I say, well, I'll give it another try today. Maybe today I'll get lucky with my photo software and break the code. And I never could. I couldn't even get one letter. And
you did send them send the copy, image of the placard to David Rudiak.
Among others, yes. And when David said that he couldn't decipher one letter either, Kevin, that was important to me because David did the yeoman's work on the Ramey memo, and he's a doctor of optometry, et cetera, and he did the yeoman's work on the Ramey memo, and he could not decipher one letter, as neither could I. And we had a copy sent to. Now here's where it gets sort of fuzzy. Adam Deuce said he sent a copy to Adobe, the Adobe
yes.
reader, and it turned out to be a buddy of his at Adobe. So I'm going, but we didn't know this until afterwards, And then we had another copy sent to Neil Morris over in the UK, who apparently
Neil Morris.
Huh?
Isn't it Neil Morris?
Morris, yeah, Neil Morris, as in Philip Morris cigarettes, and he couldn't get anywhere. And Don Schmitt had a officer in the U.S. Army who worked in the photo interpretation unit, and they couldn't get anything with it.
Well, let me interrupt you here because we're coming up against our break, so I'm going to have to do something else for just a moment. I'll have more information about this at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com. Tom's website is roswellinvestigator.com, and there's all kinds of information there as well. And I looked at the whole Roswell slides thing in the book Roswell in the 21st Century, including the things that Tony Bagaglia had deciphered and all that kind of information to give you a real good background of the whole thing if you're interested in following it that far. So anyway, we will be back with Tom Carey. We'll talk about the Roswell slides and what's coming up in the Roswell investigation and what the best evidence for the crash might be. We will be back right after this.
It's hard to listen to the news without realizing we're living in volatile, unprecedented times. Yet never has there been such an opportunity to transform the human condition. As old structures fail, where can we find the guidance to co-create a better way? Find Your Path Home is an ever-evolving, leading-edge information, education, and healing resource center designed to support and guide you on your path to unity and enlightenment. Based on sound principles employed by shaman worldwide, we provide techniques that can support you through the current transitions, offering online shamanic classes, international long-distance shamanic healing sessions, complimentary Mission Evolution radio episodes and Stairway to Heaven TV vignettes, seminars, retreats, and much more. All of this can be found on findyourpathhome.com.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
I am joined by Tom Carey. We're talking about the Roswell slides. I almost said Tim Carey, and the reason I almost said Tim Carey is because I served in Iraq with Tim Carey. So there you go. What a coincidence, I guess. When we went away, we had just gotten to the point where Don had submitted a copy of the slides to a photo interpretation unit. And what were they able to discern?
They were able to discern nothing. That they couldn't read it. And
did they give it much of an effort? Because I can't think of a photo interpretation unit. Their mission really wouldn't be trying to read a placard.
Well, Kevin, I was just one cog in this. I'm in Pennsylvania. Don's up in Wisconsin. Joseph Beeson's in California. Adam Dew's in Indiana, and Jaime Muson's down in Mexico City. So when Don tells me he sent it to, he has this Air Force friend who's he's a lieutenant colonel, something like that. An Army fellow in Washington who's with a photo interpretation unit. And Don tells me that, they couldn't find anything. Much farther can I go with it,
Oh, I'm not criticizing. I'm merely suggesting that given my knowledge of this sort of activity that really isn't in their ballywick to do that kind of thing.
I don't know that, but that's what, I have to rely on someone else for that.
The other thing that bothered me is, and I asked Adam Dew about this as well. He had said that the slide film was from the 1947 film run at Kodak, and he had taken it to Kodak, and they had confirmed that. And I had mentioned there's coating on the sides of the film that gives you that away. And I knew that the coating he was talking about was from movie film, not slide film. There's a different coating system for slide film. But I said, you didn't take them both out of the mounts, did you? And he said, no, only one. And when that one slide appeared on the internet with the frames visible, I mean, there was no coating on it. So it was clear that he was misrepresenting that as well. He said, yes, the coating says it was from 1947. It turns out that was not true. So,
well, my understanding, because, I'm not a photographic expert, my understanding was it could have been from 1927, 47, or 67.
That was the coating. That was the coatings on movie footage, movie film. Because we went through this with the Alien Autopsy when that came out, and we were trying to figure out when the film had been made and the coating. So we did a great deal of research into the coating of that. So
they took it to the historian for Kodak up in Buffalo, I guess it was, or up in upstate New York somewhere. I think it was Buffalo. I'm not sure. His name was Shane Brook.
Rochester, isn't it? Kodak? Wasn't Kodak in
Rochester? I'm sorry.
Not a problem.
So, and he, according to Adam, he authenticated that the image was on stock that was manufactured in 1947, to cut to the chase, and that it had not been altered or manipulated. This is the image on the stock. Well, Don and I never actually were in possession of the stock itself. We were only in possession of the images that Joseph Beeson and Adam Dew sent to us. So the only time we actually held the stock in our hands is that we met in Chicago. Myself, Don, Adam Dew, and Joseph and Jaime Musan we met in Chicago for one day, and we wanted to see the slides, and so we actually, you hold it up to the light. Oh, yep, there's a body on there, and that's as close as we ever got to the actual slides themselves. Everything that we looked at in detail was in the scan. So what took place between the actual slide and the scan, at the time we thought, well, no, this is an accurate representation because we could see that the two slides had bodies on them. And so that's what happened there. And so we all agreed that the key to identifying these slides was what was written on that placard. And like I said, one of them was blanked out, and it was told to me, oh, well, they probably used a flash bulb on that. Oh, okay. And the other one, we didn't know at the time, had been manipulated. And I learned this from Anthony Bergalia, that the image was made cursive, script, and they made it so you couldn't decipher it. And so so this is the way it was. And the other thing, what really turned me on to this slide was that when I saw it, it resembled very closely the descriptions that had been given to us over the years. And there was one feature on the body that just jumped out on me, and I said, "Oh my goodness, that's why Dan Dwyer said it was a child of the earth." It was, if you look at the cranium on the head, you see all these black markings. And if you remember Dan Dwyer, he was the fireman, Frankie Rowe's father, who had gotten out to the site, we think in a personal, we don't think in an official capacity, but he got out there before the military got there. And he described when he got home, his family wanted to know, well, what did you do today, Dad? Well, I was, went out to a flying saucer, saw some aliens, and they wanted to know what it looked like. And he responded, child of the earth. Child of the earth. Now, being a city slicker, I don't know what that means. And in the Southwest, what it means is that the child of the earth is like another name for it is the Jerusalem cricket, or the potato bug. It's like a land potato bug, cricket, something. But they call it the child of the earth because it has these markings on its head that reminds people of a newborn child, where the cranium bones have not ossified yet. They haven't connected, and they have like yellow. I can't talk straight. They have black markings on the top of the head, and that's what jumped out at me with this slide. And I'm thinking nobody else knows this, other than you're a Roswell aficionado. You might know it, but I'm saying they could not have hoaxed that. At least in my own mind, that's what I thought. And that, for me, sort of trumped everything. That trumped everything. Because
if I understand what you're saying, you never saw the slides other than holding them up to the light. And
yes.
You had just scans.
Yes.
So you never saw a full projection of the slide until you got to Mexico City.
Correct.
What did you think when you saw the slide projected in Mexico City?
I
Because
don't.
now you've got the whole thing there.
I don't. You're not. I don't believe. I don't remember this, Kevin. The only thing I remember about Mexico City, besides our own talk, was that they put together what do you call it? An artificial representation of what the slide looked like. I don't recall seeing another slide there, but here's the thing, is that I noticed between the two slides, there was a slide missing. And I had asked Joseph, there's a slide missing between these two, the two that, two scans that they sent us. I said, there's a one missing. Where is that? And they said, well, we couldn't find it. And so after the presentation, this is the next day where we're, getting ready to leave. And Don somehow found out about this third slide. And he went to Jaime and he said, Jaime, I want to see this third slide. And Jaime had it on his computer. And so Jaime pulled it up, and clearly it was taken in a museum. The other two slides did not demonstrate that. The other two scans to us did not show that it was in a museum. This third slide, it was clearly, you could see it was in a museum. I never saw that until that day we were leaving Mexico City, and Don said, I want to see that third slide. And there it was. And I said, oh, my goodness, because it's clearly it was in a museum. But I don't recall, and I'm not trying to be evasive here, I don't recall seeing that slide at the presentation.
I just assumed that they projected the whole slides on the for the presentation, so I could be off on that because I knew it would be the first time that you'd seen the whole thing, not a scan of it. I'm going to have to interrupt us again here so we can take a quick break. I am joined by Tom Carey, he of Roswell investigative fame. I guess the book is Witness to Roswell and a number of other books like that. You did a nice update on that. I will have more information at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com. Tom's website is Roswell Investigator. That's one word, roswellinvestigator.com. And you can find additional information there. We will be back with Tom Carey. We'll wrap up the slides and try to get to something else here in the next couple of minutes. So hang around.
How would your life change if you could develop the business and personal skills that you need in order to make more money? Do you want to learn how to achieve your big life goals faster? Then go to findhiddenmoney.com and get the Goal for It online course. The course teaches you how you can set and achieve your biggest goals while completely overcoming the roadblocks to your goals so that you can realize your dreams and imagine more success. Go to findhiddenmoney.com.
Memorable dynamic presentations are a not-so-secret weapon in the business world. Do you have a powerful message that must be shared, but you haven't found a way to deliver that message? Do you want to be known as a top public speaker who gets amazing results? Are you ready to create and deliver your powerful message? Thomas Hides can help you create and deliver your speech to get the results you desire. Visit iconquality.com.
Did you expect your business to flourish, but instead it plateaued or didn't get off the ground yet? Would you like to achieve massive goals and discover new sources of income within your business? When you're ready to experience that type of success with fast results, Cindy Hendricks is the business coach for you. Her work with entrepreneurs and business owners has been life-changing. To get you and your business where you want to be, go to imaginemoresuccess.com.
Has the fear of public speaking stalled your business or personal life? What would you give to develop and maintain supreme confidence? Have an invaluable private program to always perform at your best. Imagine how you would feel. You can have all that and so much more today with Thomas Hyde's life-changing course called Number One Fear Unleashed. Visit numberonefear.com and be liberated from your fear of public speaking.
I am here with Tom Carey. We're talking things Roswell, and we're kind of hung up on the Roswell slides. But before we get into that, let me mention once again, there's other fine programs on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Just go to xzbn.net. You can see a listing of the programs. You can scroll down there and find something that interests you, as well as, of course, a different perspective. When we went away, we had gotten to the point where there were now 3 slides. And I'd noticed that, too, that in some of the things that Adam Dew had sent me after the whole thing blew up in Mexico City, that there had been a slide missing. It was interesting to learn exactly what was going on there. Stan Friedman had been invited to this program in Mexico City. Do you know why he declined?
I do not know. I do not know, other than Joseph said that he was not interested. If I could continue just a bit, Kevin, on
go ahead.
Yeah. We also had Tony Bragalia scan. He's an expert with using the internet and finding things. We had him scan the internet for mummies, and he said he looked at over 400 mummies on the internet, and there was no match for our body. And so what's interesting is that, so, we figured, well, it's not a mummy. And, so I had contacted a number of physical anthropologists across the country and told them that, we would like them to try to identify something in a body. And they all want, and the next thing they went, well, what's the context of the body? I'm thinking, I can't lie to them. So I said, as soon as they heard Roswell, it was goodbye. And I guess the end of this was that we found a physical anthropologist in Wisconsin, up near Don Schmitt. And his website said, yes, I'm a physical anthropologist, but I like to, if you have anything that's interesting or mysterious, send it to me. And I love looking into those things. So first I emailed him, and he never got back to me. So I finally called him, and yes, I'm interested in that stuff. What's the context of your the slides you're telling me about? I said, well, as soon as he heard Roswell, he said, I'm going to be back and forth to Africa in this coming year, so I'm not going to be able to do it. Goodbye. So that's what I ran into. The only physical anthropologist that would actually talk to me after learning about the slide, they all suggested that it was to look into genetic anomalies of children. That's what they said. It sounds like a genetic anomaly, disease or something of children, and so that all came to a dead end. And so I contacted a former graduate student friend of mine up in Toronto, who to me was the most brilliant, and still is the most brilliant anthropologist I've ever come across, because he was the true anthropologist in the sense of the word that he was expert in all of the subdivisions of anthropology. He was a physical anthropologist, but he was well-versed in all of the subdivisions, and the professors up there hated him because he was smarter than they were. So I got him I sent him a copy of the slides, and he did a thorough investigation of them as best he could. With the slide itself, as you can see, is not of high quality sharpness, and it appears to have been dissected, autopsied to some degree. So that was so up to 2015. That's where we were. We had all this information. And I'm sort of hung up on that this child of the earth thing that I felt that no civilian, no somebody who's not really well versed in Roswell would know about the child of the earth other than us, and that sort of dominated my thinking. And Don Schmitt, of course, he relied on me, with my physical anthropology background. He relied on my views on this. So that's the way it was up until. It was fortuitous that we ran into Jaime Maussan down in Roswell during the festival down there in 2000, and I guess it was 12, and we all felt that this. There goes my phone. I can't believe it. My phone never rings until I'm doing an interview. We told Jaime what we had, and we all felt that this is so important as it stood then that we should really do something other than to stand out in front of the UFO museum and hold a press conference. So Jaime got this venue for us down in Mexico City at the National Auditorium, 10,000 seat National Auditorium for us. We filled 8,000, 7,500, 8,000, and we felt it was that important. And,
well, let's move on. You've had the presentation in Mexico City.
Yes.
It's 2 days later. I think it was Richard Dolan who put a high quality scan up on the internet. I was stunned. A number of people grabbed that immediately, and within 48 hours they had read the placard. I was stunned. I was in disbelief for about a week. And the placard said, it's a mummy. It's a child two-year-old boy, a mummy, 2-year-old that had been discovered in 1897 and been in a museum in, I guess, the Mesa Verde. It was. I thought it was 1936, but I could be wrong on that. It was discovered at the near the what do they call it, the Montezuma. Some museum in New Mexico or Arizona. Montezuma Castle, I guess. I think that's where it ended up. It really is irrelevant. I mean, clearly it's a mummy. The placard says it's a mummy. The evidence proves it's a mummy. They've got even pictures of it being excavated. Yes. When it was discovered. What was your reaction? I was really in disbelief until Tony Bragalia, in short order, found that particular body, that mummy, on the internet, and sent it to me. I said, "Well, that's the same one. That's the guy." And well, your initial reaction was to reject the reading of the placard. Yes, because I didn't believe it, because we tried for 3 years to read it, we couldn't, and here's somebody within 2 days, I guess, of the rollout. Here's somebody saying that they read it. I was in disbelief because we had tried so hard for 3 years. But when Tony sent me that image of the mummy itself before it was put in a museum, I said, well, there's no, that's the same body. So that was the convincer for me. So you now accept that the image is on the slides. Yes. Did you ever find out what Beeson's and Dew's motivation was for perpetrating this hoax? Yeah, we're speculating, Kevin, that Beeson, Adam Dew he's like a videographer for, like, when a TV station wants to do a remote something, a remote site, remote interview or something, they send him. And so he's familiar with, Joseph Beeson himself was in the videography or the graphic design business, which should have been red flags to me up front. It should have been red flags that these guys were in the graphic design business and the video business. But like I said, that image of the body with the child of the earth markings on the head, that did it for me. And
So Dew was making a documentary because he and Jaime Maussan were always fighting or in conflict about who was going to video this or that or this or that. And Dew was making a documentary, and when the whole thing blew up, I guess he changed the focus of it to the making of a hoax or something like that. He was cited over in Cannes in France, trying to sell it, as I understand it. I'm just repeating what someone told me, but that was what we believe the motive was, to make some sort of documentary out of either a hoax or something. If it didn't blow up, make it into something about, we got the final proof or something like that.
But Dew and Beeson had to know the truth. They had to know what it was.
Oh, yes.
So they went into the thing knowing fully well it was a mummy in a museum setting.
Yes.
And I guess the idea, I always got the impression from Dew, the idea was to, again, prove how credulous UFO researchers were.
That could have been it too, Kevin. That's a possibility. That's a possibility. But from my perspective, like I said, I was struck by this image, especially the cranial markings, which I thought no one could hoax. And like I said, when it turned
let
out...
Let me interrupt here because I'm right up against my break and I've got to go. More information at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com and at roswellinvestigators.com for Tom Carey. We will be back right after this, so please stick around.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie, natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide. They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by L.A. Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
I am still here, and I am still with Tom Carey. I had not planned for this program to be taken up with the Roswell slides, which is, I guess, not a name that Tom and Don ever subscribed to, but it describes perfectly what we're talking about. Unfortunately, we've gotten to that point. I had some additional questions about the Roswell case for Tom, but I guess we'll not get to them today.
Maybe we can go through them another time.
I was going to say that. We'll get you back on the program to do it at another time.
Without the slides.
Yeah, without the slides, exactly. So you were stunned by the revelation, and I know that your first reaction and the first statement you put out was a little bit hostile. I'm sure you'll admit to that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it because we had tried so hard to and I personally had tried for 3 years myself, and it was just impossible.
Well, as a physical anthropologist, I mean, you must have examined mummies in the past or been familiar with that sort of thing. I mean, some of that?
To me, didn't look like a mummy because, the mummy was like one of the images I sent you this morning. They look all dusty, and you know what I mean? The mummies are really... they're desiccated and they're dusty but this one looked almost to me as if it had been alive not too long before the picture was taken. It just didn't look like a mummy to me.
Well, I know you've been in the desert Southwest, and I don't know how far west you've gone on Interstate 10, but you see these signs for the thing. What is the thing? The thing coming up. I finally took the turn and went to look at the thing, and it turned out to be the mummy of a Spanish conquistador. And when I learned about this, that was the first thing that came to my mind. It was some kind of a mummy, and you'll remember I asked you that question specifically, and you said you couldn't find any mummies that matched. So
right. Well, Tony looked at hundreds of mummies, and he couldn't find a match. But to me, that the body did not look like it wasn't desiccated. It looked like it had been autopsied to me. Compared to other mummies that I had seen, the mummies, that I had seen had been like Egyptian, and they're all desiccated and dried out, and and it didn't look like anything like those.
Would you suggest or agree that you might have been a little bit caught up in a will to believe? That kind of colored your thinking a little bit?
I don't know if it's a will to believe, but the markings on the head just blew me away. That no one could hoax that, and that was my belief, was that nobody who wasn't an expert who had worked so hard on Roswell like we have and you would know that. What Dan Dwyer said to his family, that it was a child of the earth. And
I'll confirm that. I mean, I talked to Frankie Rowan a number of times, and I think I might be the first one she told about the child of the earth. And I always got the impression it was more the colorization of the being as opposed to the physicality of it.
Well, she explained to me what because I didn't know what it meant. One of the times we met her down there, I said, "What do you mean? What is it? What do you mean by child of the earth?" And she said, "The markings on the head, like the bones of a newborn that haven't ossified yet. They have marks up there." And she said that's why they call it the child of the earth.
And I'll say freely, Helen Cahill, who was Frankie Rowe's sister, a married sister who was not in Roswell at the time this event took place. She was already married and living in California, I think, but she had talked to her father, Dan Dwyer, a number of times and got the same sort of thing about the child of the earth. So it's not something that Frankie Rowe kind of came up with. The information was communicated from the father. So, there was that. The other thing is we had looked for information, documentation that the Roswell Fire Department had gone out to the site.
Right.
And there was no documentation on it, although they did make runs outside the city limits. But Carl Flock had talked to one of the firefighters, J.C. Smith, I think it was. And J.C. Smith is, we didn't go out there, it didn't happen, blah, blah, blah. And I got the same information from him until I asked one additional question, which was, did you know Dan Dwyer? And he says, oh, yeah, Dan went out there. He went out there in his personal car. He said a colonel came from the base, and it's always a colonel, it's never a major, never a lieutenant, it's always a colonel. Came out from the base and says, you guys don't need to go out there. So Dan Dwyer drove out in his personal car, and that was how he ended up at the site. So, of course, there was no record in the fire department of it because it was not an official run. It had nothing to do with the fire department.
Right. Well, yeah, I've heard those stories. In fact, I interviewed them, the person you're talking about as well, and he told me that they went out in the tanker, which is like a pickup truck with a water tank in the back. That was the first thing I heard was, they didn't use the regular fire engine. They took the tanker. And Frankie Rowe, I think, she said, no, they went out in the regular, the fire engine. And then someone else told us that, no, they didn't go out in an official capacity. They went out he went out on his own. And so we had those three stories. So my conclusion was, well, he got out there. I don't know how he got out there, whether it was official or unofficial, but he got out there.
Well, had it been official, it would have been logged. So we can rule that out. But he did, in fact, get out there. That's clear from what Frankie Rowe and others said. Yeah. He did go out there.
So that was what was important to me. It was because, one of I think it was Smith told me, or was it, I interviewed one of the sons of the fire chief. I also, and I think maybe he told me that, oh, no, they went out in a tanker. So I had those three things going around. And I said, well, I don't know which it is. But the fact is he got out there. And he also told his son-in-law, Dan Dwyer told his son-in-law the same story, and we interviewed him as well. So,
there's no question. There's no question the story can be traced back to Dan Dwyer.
Yes.
And he clearly was telling this story. So, and I don't know when he died, which is
like 1959.
In which case, if he's telling this story in 1959 or prior to 1959, clearly he hasn't picked it up from the Roswell Incident or any of the other stuff that came out after Jesse Marcel talked about it. So, so you spent a week rejecting the idea that the slides showed a mummy.
Yeah, because of my disbelief that anybody could decipher the placard, because we had tried for 3 years and had others look at it too, and no one, and most notably David Rudiak, and nobody could come up with anything. Well, so my mind was you can't decipher it, and there it was. It was also, it turned out to be, it wasn't cursive print, it was block print, and that also colored my impression that, well, we know it was cursive because that's what it looked like in the image that we had. So I did not accept that was accurate until Tony Bergalia. He got the actual image of the mummy for me. He got right to it, and I said, "Well, that's a mummy, and that's the guy we got on the slab." So, at that point, I said, "This is a mummy."
Yeah. So it's all over, but the shouting.
Yes. Yeah.
So you accept it's a mummy.
Yes.
Okay. Well, never really asked you that question before, so I just thought I would.
There's no doubt that's what from the. I think the guy's name was S.L. What was it? What was his name? S.L. something or other from San Francisco.
He was an amateur anthropologist or archaeologist, something like that.
Yeah, and he loaned it to I guess the Montezuma Castle or something like that. I don't know, but that's what it was.
And we should point out here that the remains have been returned to the proper tribes for.
Yes. Okay.
It's no longer on display.
Yeah, Tony will be glad to hear that.
I think it was done a while ago, and I know Tony was very upset about the whole thing and made a huge donation to the tribe.
Yes.
As a way of, atoning for the mistake. Tom,
I wasn't up to a donation, but I accepted the ultimate conclusion.
I really wanted to talk a little bit about Glenn Dennis, talk about the best evidence for the Roswell crash, and these sorts of things, but we're out of time.
I'll be happy to talk to you about those whenever
and not mention the slides again ever, right? Well, thank you much, Tom. Is there a book you'd like to mention or a product you'd like to mention here?
Yes, the current book came out in April or May. It's called UFO Secrets Inside the Real Area 51, UFO Secrets at Wright-Patterson, Eyewitness Accounts from Inside the Real Area 51. It's about Wright-Patterson and all the UFO secrets that they had. And that book is out now. It went to number 2 on Amazon's UFO books, in the world on sale.
Well, thank you, Tom. Gotta go. I'm done. I'm out of time. Thank you very much. There'll be more information, somewhat, or some links to look at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com. And as I say, in Roswell in the 21st century, I took a long look at the whole history of the Roswell slides and how all of this thing developed over those number of years that Tom had talked about and the information that came through that. And once again, there are other fine programs on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, the XZBN, X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net. Take a look at that, and I'm sure you'll find something that they'll trip your trigger. I will be back in a week with more information on a different perspective, so thanks for listening.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com. or www.xzonetvchannel.com, or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.